Hello friends, and welcome to the TableStop top 20 games of all time. I know this is a long time coming to make a video. I'm very excited to bring it from the original home of the West Valley tabletop board and card gamers. So I know a few guys have been following on the blog, doing my top 100 games. I thought I'd change it up for the last 20 and do a video presentation. So let's see how this goes. For those of you who don't know me, I am TableStop on Instagram and Twitter. And if you're just catching me on YouTube, this is my first official YouTube board gaming video. We'll see how it goes. First up, my number 20, Signori from What's Your Game, from designers Andrea Chiaviesio. I think I'm ruining that. Pierluigi Zizi. You're the Signori of a family, and you're working to guide your offspring through careers and marriages. Now, the theme may not sit quite right with some people. It's about you running this family and marrying off your daughters and sending your men off to work in political, clerical, and military careers. It's a little bit crazy when it gets to that. You know, like basically send dowries off to get points to send the wives off to the cities. But each round, where players, the dice are rolled, and you're drafting dice to get your actions each turn, and the cost of the dice is based on how low it is compared to what the value is on the board. So you have these little player boards which have your the value of each of the colored dice, and as you track and spend money, which can be really tight in this game, a cheap action can be fantastic, but a high-end action is gonna be really good for you. But at the end of the round, if you get to like 13 or more value on your dice, you can't take the bonus action for the round, which can be really big. Some extra points or extra actions. It's just a really good blend of most Euro mechanics that I like in a game. Great choices and a great strategic depth where you can kind of plan towards an end game a little bit. I mean, you do get hung up on some of the tiles that come out for the cities, but other than that, it's a fantastic game. Signori and my number 20. Moving on to number 19 is Scythe from Stonemaier Games, designed by Jamie Stegmaier himself. This is, I mean, if you guys know board games at all, you've probably played Scythe at least once. Love it or hate it. Most people really love it. It was in my top 10 at one point. It's kind of slipped a little bit, I think, just because of lack of play. We did play right through the Fenris campaign, which is an add-on for it, which is absolutely fantastic as a campaign aspect to the game. But the simplicity of the choice of action in this game is bar none. On your turn, you're just choosing one action, doing a thing, and then maybe you get a little bonus action if you've got enough resources for it. The game, it runs so smooth, quick turns, and it's this race to put your stars on the board. When someone hits that mark, let me add up the scores and see who's won. I mean, it can be kind of conflicty if you want it to be, but there's ways to play this game without rushing into battle. It's a fantastic game. Stegmaier and Stonemaier really hit out the park every time they produce a game. There's several of my top 100 games are there, so I mean, this is just another one that just hits all the right spots for me. That's Scythe by Stonemaier Games, number 19. On to my number 18, Castles of Burgundy from Stefan Feld. This is one of the earlier games that I played, one of those earlier Euros. Point salad, just you're doing a lot of things, comboing into little things, but it's just the wonder of just rolling dice, and those are your actions you get to choose from each turn, and through those actions you get to take a tile from the board and place it into your little play area that will maybe move it out from your play area into your little Burgundy province that you're building up. It's just that feeling of like satisfying feeling of just like pulling something off and just seeing your little point tracker go around the scoreboard. Just Burgundy is a classic. It's not the best Feld though. That will be coming up in a little while here, but for me, Burgundy sings at 2 players. I mean, it's a really quick, fast game between 2 players as well. 4 players can go on a little long, but it's still a fantastic experience. So that's Castles of Burgundy from Stefan Feld. Yeah, highly recommend. Moving on to number 17, Glenmore 2 Chronicles. Now this is a reimplementation of the original Glenmore overproduced to the max. This box is way too big. There's huge tiles in here. It's fantastic. Maybe I can throw some pictures up of the game for you on the screen here, but you're going to see the tile laying. I mean, I think one of the first things I got into when I first got into the hobby was a game called Carcassonne. This is entry-level tile laying games. You're just building a map out in front of you. And the feeling of that growth, I mean, I think that's what I get from all games. It's just that feeling of growth and comboing little things into other things is what I enjoy the most. But Glenmore also has this amazing action track that you can choose how far you want to go. How far down the road do you want to go? How far do you want to go to get that one big tile? But the problem is you're skipping over all these other tiles, which means the players behind you will get an opportunity to pick up the other tiles. So either you can move forward and grab that big one that's going to be a big one for your little clan area in front of you, or you can slow play it and maybe it'll be gone. Yeah, it's great decision space, and I mean, this one packs so much in it. I haven't even touched any of the Chronicles yet. And I really want to get more to the table so I can get into those little corners of this game that really makes it for me. Yeah, so this is Glenmore 2 Chronicles, number 17. On to number 16, Isle of Skye, from Mayfair Games here, designed by Alex Pfister and Andreas Pelikan. Pfister is a great designer of games. I can't get over how much I love most of his games. But this one, a smaller package than Glenmore 2, has a similar feel. Again, tile laying, building up your little area in front of you. It's such a great feeling to get the little roads together. But the varied scoring for this game and the weird auction bidding system that each player had to value certain tiles in front of them, how much it's worth to them. Maybe they want to keep it, or maybe they want someone else to buy it from them. It's a great way. And then when you buy it and put it in your play area, each round, different things score at different times during the game. So right at the start of the game, maybe a 4x4 grid is like a good way to be going, but maybe that's the goal for the end of the game. So you're building up this huge map in front of you. So every game is varied. Everyone's areas end up looking a little bit different. Yeah, Isle of Skye from Chieftain to King. It also has a couple of expansions. I've checked out one of them, Journeyman. It's good. It adds a little more length to the game. I really want to check out Druids, but Isle of Skye is a great light game. Always on my table. But that's number 16. I believe number 16. And here we are at number 15. Crusaders, Thy Will Be Done from Seth Jaffe and Tasty Minstrel Games. Always a great production from Tasty Minstrel. I always loved their work. I mean, I got several games of theirs on my shelves. But Crusaders, first I want to say that the theme, I mean, you're spreading out across Eastern Europe and into Western Asia on the Crusades. So that's a little bit on the edge, but the mechanics of this game run beautifully smoothly. Your actions are chosen through a rondel type circle in front of you where you're picking up cubes, and where you drop off is the action you do, or whether you pick up is the action you do, and how many cubes you have is how powerful that action is going to be. So you're trying to pop a bunch of little action cubes in one section. It's a fantastic feeling when you get it right, when you put your things in the right spot and set off a huge, really quick running thing as you spread east and build a building at the same time right in front of your opponents and steal that extra few points from them. Great game. It has a great end game trigger where it's like a certain amount of points have to be, a pool of points have to be drained, and then it triggers the end game. I love seeing that in games. It kind of gives you that thing where you can push towards the end, like I can get those last few points, I can end the game now where I'm still ahead, or before they get that other thing to score a few extra points for themselves. So, and every game I've played of this has seemed pretty close and tight. So yeah, and there's nice variety in each of the knights that you can have. The knights that give you variable powers each game to break the rules slightly, but it's really good because you have a different experience each time you play. Looking forward to it. There was rumors that there's an expansion coming, so excited for that. So this is number 15, Crusaders, Thy Will Be Done. Number 14, Seize the Day, or Carpe Diem if you prefer speaking Latin. Again, Stefan Feld. Now this is my favorite Feld. And again, tile laying. Yeah, I kind of like that feeling. But again, it's a simple action system where you're just moving your little worker across the board to pick up a tile, and then you place it on your board. And if you complete a building, it triggers an action. Either you get resources or you get to grab another building tile. It's just real simple. And then end round scoring has these goal cards to the side of the board that at the end of the round you have to choose where you want to place your disc to trigger the bonuses. And if you can't get one of the bonuses, you lose points. But you know, it's just that planning and like hoping that no one else is going for the same combo you want, and then trying to get to be the first player to do that. Lots of little things going on, and it plays so quickly and smoothly. Yes, for those of you who have seen the art, it's a little dreary and hard to see, and there was a second reprint that improved it quite a bit. I still don't think it doesn't look that fantastic, but if you get a chance to pick this game up, I highly recommend it. This is the best felled. I mean, this Burgundy, I think I have Trajan in the 20s somewhere. Yeah, these Feld just knows how to make games that just reward you for good play. Yeah, so Carpe Diem, number 14. Well, unlucky for some, we're now at number 13, and lucky for Smartphone Inc., that is the game at number 13. Wow, yeah, I think first time designer I've Leshen. I haven't seen it in his other game designs, but my goodness, did this game make a splash with me and several other people in our gaming group. The action selection in this game, it's an economic game, but you could easily play it in hour 15 with 4 or 5 players. The action selection has you placing these paddles on top of one another, and what you can see is what you get. It's just a puzzle to that, and then once the action phase begins, it's fairly simple. Things kind of trigger as you go, and the real choices in this is how you're going to spread out your cell phone empire across the board, and if you want to like challenge your opponents for first sales of stuff, and if you're going to set your prices low and get a few bucks, or set them high and you'll be last in turn order to sell, but you could, if you're the only person in one market, you could be raking it in. And there's variability in the upgrades you can get to your phone add to this game for sure, and there's a few overthings in the expansion that was released at the same time as the Kickstarter for this one. Yeah, Smartphone Inc. What a game. My number 13. Okay, sorry, I have to go. It's my number 12, and I have to go get the forklift truck to bring this one in. Because I now have Millennium Blades Collusion. Yeah, this is the expansion box that they sent out. There's another box somewhere that they sent in case you sleeve your stuff, but Millennium Blades. Heavy game, a lot going on. What can you say about it? It simulates a CCG in 2 hours, or the life cycle of a CCG. Players are buying cards in real time to build a deck to go fight in a tournament where you play 7 of your cards out onto the table. And who scores the most points scores points that way. And you can get set collection as well to get extra points. There's a way to mitigate if you're having bad card draws, or you can't build a deck properly for the tournament to be competitive. But I mean, this is a huge box with a lot of cards inside it now. Level 99 games. I believe I have Argent in my top 100 quite easily, somewhere around here. But I love the depth that their games go to, and just the variety that you can have at the table with their games. Not an easy one to get to the table, but Millennium Blades, yeah, this is a fantastic game. And my number 12. And before we get into the top 10, my number 11, yes, it's a much smaller box than Millennium Blades. It's this tiny little package, Arboretum. I mean, I don't know how many small card games I do have in my top 100. I do really appreciate them when they offer depth and decision, and there's moments where you go, I don't know what to do. I don't know, I need to draw a card and I need to discard one, but I want all of these cards to stay in my hand. Arboretum, you're building your arboretum in front of you by playing cards at the table, and you'll score points based on the routes between the same type of trees from low number to high number. But the only way you can score at the end of the game is if you have the highest number collectively of that type of tree in your hand. So someone else could be holding on to a 7 because you have a 4 in your hand, and you're not even going to score yours because they just blocked you and they didn't even collect any of the birches. And now you're losing out on your 15-point birch route because Dave over there kept his 7. And that was the smart thing to do, because you don't want someone to score their birches when they're scoring 15 points. You don't want to do that. And it's just a beautiful game once it gets out on the table. Yeah, Arboretum. It's a great game. My number 11. Very excited now to be moving into my top 10, and a little bit of a cheat here with Clank in space and Clank Legacy and original Clank. I like making noise. As an experience, Clank Legacy is bar none the best Legacy experience out there. Just a great team game and competitive game at the same time. Just working your way through the little storyline, unlocking cards, putting stickers on the board, tearing stuff up. Played it with the family. I think I loved every minute of this game, and I really hope they bring a second one out. And you can play the board once it's finished too, which is kind of cool, the board that you create. Clank in Space is better than the original Clank, but still I'm putting Clank in here too. I don't own a copy of Clank because I prefer it in space, but I still think original Clank is right up there. It's just the combination of deck building and exploration and the race feel to it. It's fantastic. In space helps a little bit with the runaway in Clank. If someone goes down and runs back out and leaves you all behind, in space has some mechanics in it that help mitigate that, but it's just the build up. And yeah, I lovingly look at Legacy and I'm like, we can't play through this again because we've played through it. I suppose we could if you bought another copy and wiped our memories. Yeah, I'll get on that. Anyway, number 10, Clank in Space. On to number 9, Viticulture from Stonemaier Games, designed by Jamie Stagmeyer and Stone. Yeah, great game. Now, this is the Essential Edition. I do have Tuscany in here. I think the game is best with the big Tuscany board, spreading out with the 4 full seasons. And a lot of people still like the original where it's just the 2 seasons, but that's what misnomer on this is. It has to be the Tuscany board included in the game that really pushes this into my top 10. I think this has been in my top 10 for a while, and it's not going to go away. It just has so much depth of variety with the cards, and there's some extra cards you can put into the game now as well. And then when you put the structures in, which I know some people don't like, I like the structures. I really think it affords a good change of strategy if you get the right cards. Yeah, there's a couple that might be a little bit overpowered and kind of breaks on the theme of making wine where you're just selling $2 chuck to your hotel visitors. But maybe that's what you do on your vineyard. Maybe you're selling cheap wine because that's all you can make. Because I don't have time to build a good cellar to keep my wine in. I'm sorry. I want to make cheap wine and get my patrons drunk. That's all. Anyway, it's worker placement. It's fantastic. It's viticulture, and it's my number 9. And where's my bottle of wine? Moving on to number 8, 7 Wonders. I wasn't smart enough with this one apparently, but anyway, 7 Wonders is my number 8 game of all time. This is the original art. I do like the look of the new one. Again, this is a game that one of the early games I think I played in the hobby. One of the first, I think really one of the early ones 6-7 years ago that got me hooked. It's so good. It's, again, I love a quick game that gives you that feeling of like decisions that mean something. and hard decisions. Like, I don't want to send that stuff on to someone else. I need to build that science thing for myself. I need to get that resource building. I need to, there's moments in this game that I really like, and then it just plays so quickly. And then a few of the expansions add a little bit without overcomplicating it. Seven Wonders is just one of those gems that, I mean, it's a tougher teach sometimes for newer players, but it's definitely a game I'll break out with someone who's just getting into gaming. I'm right there for it. I'll explain and walk them through every turn, but it's Seven Wonders is my number 8, maybe 7.5, maybe. But it's number 8. Seven Wonders. And number 7. I had to have a Lacerda in here somewhere. The Gallerist. I think by far his best game. Although I have to play on Mars some more. But right now, this is my number 7. Just because it plays so smoothly, and the theme, it makes sense to me. The actions that you do, it just, when teaching the game as well, it's just easy. I mean, it makes sense. You're discovering artists. Once you discover those artists, you can buy their artwork. And then once you got their artwork, you can sell it for even more money as you make them more famous. I mean, it's just, on the board, it may not make that sense, but I feel like it just flows into that. You get the guys into your gallery to sell them, and you send a guy out with his painting under his arm. But Lacerda is the king of these heavy games. On Mars, Lisboa, and Vinos, Kanban. But this one, this is his best. This is his masterpiece for me. The Gallerist, number 7. Number 6, we're gonna head on out to the middle of Europe. Grand Austria Hotel, from the Italian collective of designers Simone Luciani, Virginio Gigli, ruining the pronunciations of these games, these people. There's several designers in that collective that make these games. There's Lorenzo Magnifico, which I only just got to play recently, and might end up liking it more than this eventually. But Grand Austria Hotel I've played a lot. They have a good implementation on Yukata, so I've been playing it recently with everything going on. I played, a few turn-based games going on there. You start seeing a little bit more strategy to it. I mean, at first glance, you're rolling a bunch of dice, and that's your choices. Yes, it's very tactical. Yes, it's hard to plan for the end game, but when you do hit the right combo of rooms and guests and the right food, and you get that nice staff card, it just feels so good and satisfying. And there's an expansion coming for it for this year on Kickstarter that I backed. Really excited for that, to see what it adds to the game. More guests and more ways to play, including they get rid of the lot of criticism for this was the turn order, especially in 2-player game. This is fantastic. 3 and 4 then starts getting really long because of the turn order. It's like a snake. You snake back and forth. So if you're first, you're also last. So you could be in a 4-player game, you're first and 8th, which can go on a long time. So the downtime in this game can be really long, because then also the board state changes so much you can't choose to be doing turns. But the expansion apparently tries to fix some of that with some regular turn order, which I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays. Again, this might even go up my estimation more of the expansion. But right now it's at number 6 quite solidly, and that's Grand Austria Hotel. Here we are at number 5. Not number 1, but number 5, 51st State, the Master Set. Yeah, this is a fantastic game. Again, it's heavily luck-based with card draws, but just building again up combat. I don't think I love in games is tableau building, and another card game that's coming up in a second will kind of fit into that. Tableau building, engine building, it's fantastic feeling, just putting cards down and building up your little world in front of you, as players in this one compete to be the best in the apocalypse, I guess. You're just getting little guys and turning them in for resources in for new cards in your play area. But such a great game. Another game that I think pretty best at 2 or 3 players. Once you get to 4 players, it feels a little long. But there's just so much depth here, and there's another expansion coming. I still haven't played the last expansion yet, so I mean, I have that waiting for me. But this game's been sitting up in my top 10 for a while. It was my number 1 for a little bit. But yeah, it's 51st State. Great game from Portal Games. And Mr. Treasure Check. If I pronounce that right, I'm probably murdering his name too. I'll just call him Ignacy, but there's some great games in Portal Games. But yeah, that's my number 5. 51st State, the complete master set. On to number 4. Another box that's getting a little bit heavy. Terraforming Mars from Stronghold Games. Yeah, like I said, just about 51st State, Tableau builders, engine building. Yeah, this game has it all. Oh my goodness. And with all the expansions in there, there's a lot to do in this game. It really got made a little bit better by Prelude, where you get to like at least bump start your engine, because the game was a little slow off to get started in the base game. But if you add in Prelude, this game cuts the playing time down by about half an hour or so. Oh, but there's so much choice and decisions as you build up your little engine of cards in front of you. Trying to terraform Mars, building up the oxygen levels, building up the temperature, placing oceans out, and getting your resources back. It looks just, I mean, the art may not be fantastic on the cards, and the game looks a little drab at times, but you know, those tiles on the board look fantastic. I have got some 3D printed tiles for this to bling it out a little bit from a friend of mine. That really make it look really great on the table. And then they did have a big box expansion they did on Kickstarter, which had included from the actual from Stronghold that had extra tiles. So if you're willing to fork out for that, then you're in for a treat. Terraforming Mars is my number 4. My number 3 game of all time, Flamme Rouge. Stronghold Games, again, another whammy from them. What can I say about this game? I love this game. Oh my goodness. And I wish more people did too. It has an elegant simplicity to the card play that I don't think, there's a strategy there that you don't really see the first time you say, I could play random cards and it's all gonna not matter much. But I'm really looking forward to the big tour, the Grand Tour expansion, which is gonna add in the multiple stages, and I think that will add an extra level of depth to the game that's easy to teach. Like, I can get this to the table with anyone new to games. I'm like, here, just try this one out. Or you just play a card, you move your little cyclist on track, and it's such a great feeling moving around a little track. It doesn't really mean much, but it's just some great mechanics in there. The slipstreaming, you feel really clever if you get that little slipstreaming that bumps you forward like 2 or 3 spaces in one turn. And just trying to pull off that breakaway where you're getting all the exhaustion, but you still manage to pull out that last turn 5 or 6 card to take the win for the race. Yeah, it's Flamme Rouge from Stronghold Games, and I'm really looking forward to the expansion of this coming soon. This is my number 3 of all time. And here we are at my number 2 game, Alchemist. Now, this was my number 1 for a long time. I'm a big fan of deduction games. I like logic puzzles. I mean, I don't have many deduction games in my top 100. There's just tough ones. Chronicles of Crimes up there. It's kind of puzzling things out. I mean, I like the exit games. Played quite a bit of Sleuth recently. But this takes a logic problem, then wraps this heavy euro around it that even complicates it even more. And it's so much fun. Trying to figure out the alchemical buildup of these ingredients by combining them in potions, and you might be, if you're testing it, you might be poisoning a student. It's so thematic and funny and hard and complicated, and there's an expansion that adds even more stuff to it. I want to play this now. Alchemist, yeah, the designer hasn't designed anything else yet, but I'm really looking forward to it if he does. I'll be very excited to play it. But this is my number 2 game of all time. It's Alchemists from CGE. Finally, on to my #1 game of all time, and it is not here yet. Now, many of you know me. You're probably watching this video because I'm going to share it, and you guys know me. My #1 game of all time is Blood on the Clock Tower. Look, I don't know if I'm a big fan of social deduction games. I do like Two Rooms and a Boom, and I enjoyed Avalon a lot, but I couldn't lie to people. Now, Blood on the Clock Tower gives you an option to be the storyteller, and I love that part of it. It's not quite as complicated as setting up a story in D&D, and I respect those guys who run DM games and create all these backstories. I don't know if I could do that, but with Blood on the Clock Tower, I can control some information and watch players squirm and play the game and figure stuff out and watch that logic problem unfold in front of them at times. There's a puzzle to the game, and you know, I got it right here. My own created print and play that I made for my box, but we're still waiting on the Kickstarter to fulfill to get the official one. They got the rule books out, so I need to go take a look at those to see if they change any rules or any of the characters that I love in this game. But there's so much depth in this box, and I'm looking forward to the days. I mean, it's been a year of not getting together with friends and playing games, and Blood on the Clock Tower requires 8 to 12 at least, maybe, and I miss those moments. And it's hard to put a game #1 that I find it really hard to play right now. I played online a couple of times, and it's just not the same. It's far from the same. And that's changed the whole, I think, I've been watching the games online. It seems like they changed the whole dynamic, how the game's played. I mean, it's added a whole new thing. And we played like one, I mean, if I get to play a game in person, it's going to be different. But for sure, Blood on the Clock Tower is my #1 game of all time. I'll throw up a picture of it or something that you can see a picture of the game. I just love everything about this game. Yeah. Anyway, I'm missing the games. That's all I could say. But yeah, my #1 game of all time, Blood on the Clock Tower. If you haven't a chance, check it out. I'll be running games as soon as we can, once everyone's vaccinated and this thing that we've all been dealing with this past year has gone away. And I'm back to playing games with friends, and I'll be happy to run a game for anyone, anytime. Just call me. I'll come to your house, get 8 friends together, I'll come run your game for you. Find me on Twitter @table_stop and Instagram @table_stop. Yeah, and I'll run your games for you. I'll bring my print and play copy, if I haven't got my actual copy by then. We'll see. Maybe in 2022. And I'll be back with another top 100 list at that time, and it'll still be my #1. Maybe. We'll see. See what this year brings. Anyway. Good to see you all and not see you all. And I look forward to getting to the table soon with people. West Valley Tabletop will be coming back in one way or another. And I'll be able to play games with you because I read the rules so you don't have to.